Hey guys, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, and today I'm talking about Supermeat. So Supermeat has been a huge topic in the vegan community at large, as well as on YouTube since its campaign began. And there's a lot of people who have varying opinions on what Supermeat means for the vegan movement and for the state of our planet and the animals. So I wanted to weigh in on this a little bit and talk about some of the positive and negative aspects of Supermeat and kind of in general where I'm sitting on this issue and how I feel about it in general. Now, first things first, Supermeat is not something that is already in production, already available. It's something that's very far off in the distance. They are trying to raise money so that they can continue to test and develop this product and make it affordable. So it's not an immediate solution. It's not something that's going to sweep in next year and change the course of the animal agriculture industry. It is still a little bit far off. Now, some people have been bringing up that it is not 100% cruelty-free to produce the Supermeat because they do need to get cells from a living animal to create this cultured meat. And that is true, and I agree with people who say that we shouldn't be using animals at all, and obviously the best choice would be for everyone to stop eating animals so that we don't have to hurt them at all. But I am of the mind that removing a couple cells from a living animal to create this cultured meat rather than raising, torturing, and killing millions of animals so people can eat their flesh, I think that the difference is so huge that it's almost ridiculous to bring it down to that small point. If I could give a small cell sample to a cause and save millions of lives, I would. And I realize that, of course, this is a different circumstance and the animal cannot give consent for their taking of their cells. And I do completely agree, again, that in an ideal world, we wouldn't have to do this to an animal. We wouldn't exert our will on them without getting their consent and using them in general. But once again, this is not an ideal world, and a lot of people are still going to want to eat meat. So if we're able to cause a small amount of non-fatal pain to one animal to feed all of these people and save all of these other animals' lives, I really think it's worth it. As far as the idea that this is sort of counterintuitive to the vegan movement in that people will still be using animals and eating their flesh, even if it's cultured rather than raised, grown, and killed for, I do think that it is a step in the right direction. While I agree that animals are not here for us to use, a cultured meat is definitely a different beast altogether. Obviously, it's not quite in the same category as a plant-based meat, but it is being manufactured in a way that causes far less suffering. And I don't personally think that when someone eats, for example, a Beyond Burger, that that's perpetuating that they should use animals. And so I'm not sure why a cultured meat burger would necessarily perpetuate that any more, at least to any large degree, than a completely plant-based burger. I think that people in general want to be nonviolent, be compassionate to other living beings, and that if they had the choice between killing an animal for their burger or eating a cultured burger, that they would go for the cultured option. They may not go all the way to the plant-based option because there's a lot of hang-ups about that, different taste, different texture. People may not quite take that leap, but I think a lot of people are likely to go for the less cruel option if it's still the same product, and that can save so many lives that I do think it's something that needs to be supported. Now, when I'm saying supported, I don't necessarily mean financially by those of us in the vegan community. I do know that there are vegans who are encouraging people to donate money, and if you want to donate money to that, then go right ahead. It's none of my business to tell you what you should or shouldn't donate to, what causes you should or shouldn't support. I personally won't be donating money to it because I would much rather put my money towards an organization or a company that is attempting to create options that are 100% cruelty-free, 100% animal byproduct free, that are trying to create more of a vegan world. So while I'm not going to disparage Supermeat or say that it's wrong or horrible, I'm personally not going to put my money towards it because it's still not 100% in line with my values. And this leads to the next point, that I will not be trying Supermeat if cultured meat becomes a new phenomenon. If it becomes affordable and available widely, I will not be eating it. As a vegan of 4 years, I don't look at flesh as food anymore, and even if that flesh was grown from a couple cells rather than taken from a corpse, I'm still not very interested in putting it in my body. Not just for the ethical side of it, but also for the health side of it, that it's not good for my body and I don't want to put it in my body. And that's another topic that people are speaking about, the idea that meat is still not good for humans and that this will not help to reduce lifestyle diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, cancer. And while that is true, I have heard some rumors about these companies creating specific cultured meats that have, for example, lower saturated fat content or lower cholesterol content because they have more control over the actual composition of the muscles as they're growing it. And again, if people had the option to eat a meat that was marginally healthier and less cruel, I think people would go for that option. And I think that that possible situation, that possible end game of the majority of humans eating this type of meat option and traditional animal agriculture not existing, I think that that is a far better end for our world, a far better place to be aiming towards than the alternative. So while of course it isn't as healthy, I mean, we don't have any right to tell other people that they have to be healthy. I can't tell anyone else that they have to exercise, and no one can tell me that I have to, even though we know that exercise is the healthier choice. It's the same thing with the diet. As a vegan, I think that everyone should be vegan for ethical reasons, of course, but once you're vegan, you don't have to be healthy if you don't want to. I, of course, think that health is important and I want to be healthy, but if someone wants to eat potato chips all day, whether they're eating animal products or not, that's up to them. And of course that brings up all of the other things to consider, such as taxes going up to cover healthcare costs and things like that. And yes, of course that also affects us. But I am of the mind that everyone has the right to do what they want with their own body, humans and non-human animals alike. That's a large reason why I'm a vegan, that I believe that, and it's the reason why I try my best not to tell other people what they have to do, because their body is their own and only they can make the choices about what they do with it and what they put in it. Overall, I think Supermeat is a positive step for the vegan movement. I think it is a really interesting solution to a problem we've been facing of the large numbers of people who just simply won't consider reducing or eliminating their animal product consumption. And I think it's a great bridge to bring people from an omnivorous diet to more of a plant-based diet through this sort of option. It's like adding another step between eating farmed meat and eating plant-based meats, to have this cultured meat in the middle, and it's just sort of bridging that gap and making it even easier to take those steps towards veganism, towards a vegan world. And it's reducing the pain and suffering and murder of millions of animals. I think that that's a positive step. So again, this is something that's far in the distance, and there's still years to go before cultured meat becomes something that would be widely available. But even so, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's something that's going to allow more of an open conversation with omnivores and carnists about the use and abuse of animals in a way that maybe perhaps they'll be less defensive about, and maybe Supermeat and other cultured meats of that kind can incite really large-scale change. Another thing I want to talk about before I leave is the environmental impact. Of course, if we're no longer raising animals on such a huge scale, the environmental impact of eating meat goes way down. If people are eating cultured meat only and not raised meat, the environmental impact of meat is basically nullified. Now, of course, I don't know their exact processes of creating the meat and how much environmental damage is caused by those processes. And of course, that is a factor. But if we can create a world where eating meat doesn't negatively impact the environment or the animals, then I think that's something we should strive to do. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am not saying that my opinions or thoughts on this are infallible. I, of course, invite your own comments and opinions in the comments below, so please leave them. I'd love to have a discussion on Supermeat and other such advancements in cultured meat technology. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.